Before tonight's story begins, take one quiet moment for yourself. If you believe the most dangerous distance between two people is not physical, but emotional, then this story may stay with you longer than you expect. Subscribe to the channel. Because some stories are not about betrayal. They are about the slow moments that quietly change everything. The rain had been falling since sunset, not violent rain. Not the kind that demanded attention. This rain was softer, colder, almost patient. It tapped gently against the large cabin windows while the forest outside disappeared into darkness deep in northern Colorado. Surrounded by endless pine trees, the old wooden cabin stood completely isolated from the world. Inside, the fireplace painted warm orange light across the room. Sophia Bennett sat silently near the fire, her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had already gone cold nearly 20 minutes earlier. Across the room, her husband Ethan stared at his laptop, pretending to answer work emails even though the internet connection barely worked in the mountains. Neither of them had spoken in almost 15 minutes. Once, silence between them used to feel peaceful. Now it felt heavy. The kind of silence that forces two people to realize how far apart they have slowly drifted without ever noticing it happening. Sophia looked toward Ethan carefully. 6 years ago, she used to love watching him concentrate. Back then, everything about him felt comforting. The way he smiled while reading, the way he rubbed his eyes when tired, the way he always reached for her hand during movies without thinking. Now most of those small habits were gone, or maybe she had simply stopped noticing them. Ethan finally closed the laptop and leaned back against the couch. "You've been quiet all night," he said softly. Sophia forced a small smile. "Just tired." The answer arrived automatically. Because lately, "I'm tired" had become another way of saying, "I don't know how to explain what's wrong anymore." Outside, thunder rolled quietly through the mountains. Ethan nodded once and looked back toward the fire. Neither of them knew how to continue the conversation. That frightened Sophia more than arguments ever could. Arguments at least meant people still cared enough to fight. But this felt like emotional exhaustion. The cabin trip had originally been Ethan's idea. A weekend away might help us reconnect. He had said 3 weeks earlier. At the time, Sophia agreed immediately because part of her desperately wanted to believe they were still capable of fixing whatever had broken between them. But now, sitting across from each other in near silence, the truth felt impossible to ignore. They no longer knew how to reach each other. Sophia slowly stood and walked toward the kitchen. The wooden floor creaked softly beneath her feet. She opened the refrigerator without really looking inside. Sometimes people pretend to search for food when they are actually searching for a reason to leave the room. "You want anything?" she asked quietly. Ethan shook his head. Another silence followed. Longer this time. Then suddenly, "I think we stopped talking to each other a long time ago." Sophia froze. The words came from Ethan so unexpectedly that for a moment she thought she imagined them. Slowly, she turned around. Ethan stared directly into the fire instead of at her. "I don't mean normal talking," he continued quietly. "I mean real talking." Sophia felt her chest tighten painfully, because deep down, she knew he was right. The rain outside became heavier. For a few seconds, neither of them moved. Then Sophia finally spoke. "When did that happen?" Ethan gave a tired smile. "I honestly don't know." And somehow, that answer hurt more than anything else, because there was no single moment to blame. No betrayal. No screaming fights. No dramatic collapse. Just years of small emotional absences quietly collecting between them until one day they became strangers wearing wedding rings. Sophia slowly sat back down near the fireplace. The warm light flickered across Ethan's face, making him look older tonight. Not physically, emotionally, like someone carrying invisible exhaustion. "I miss you sometimes," Ethan admitted softly. Sophia looked at him immediately. The honesty in his voice almost shattered her. "You're sitting right here," she whispered. "I know." That was the problem. You can sit beside someone every single day and still feel miles away from them. Sophia looked down at her hands. She remembered the beginning of their relationship so clearly. Back then, they used to stay awake until 3 a.m., talking about impossible dreams, children, travel, future homes, secret fears. Everything felt alive then. Now most conversations sounded like business meetings. Did you pay the electricity bill? What time is your appointment? Can you grab groceries? Tomorrow. Somewhere along the way, survival replaced intimacy. Ethan suddenly laughed quietly under his breath. Sophia frowned slightly. What? He shook his head slowly. It's weird. What is? We spent thousands of dollars on this trip hoping nature would fix something we stopped protecting years ago. The sentence landed heavily between them because it was true. People often wait until relationships are dying before finally paying attention to them. Sophia swallowed hard. Do you think it's too late for us? Ethan looked toward her for the first time in several minutes. And for a moment, Sophia saw something inside his eyes she hadn't seen in months. Fear. Real fear. I don't want it to be, he admitted. The fire cracked loudly between them. Outside, snow had started mixing with the rain now, covering the dark forest in white. Sophia suddenly felt tears pressing against her eyes. Not dramatic tears, quiet ones. The kind that appear when someone finally says the thing you were both avoiding for years. I've been lonely, she whispered. Ethan closed his eyes briefly. So have I. That answer nearly broke her. Because loneliness inside a marriage feels different than ordinary loneliness. It feels confusing, embarrassing, like standing beside warmth while slowly freezing anyway. For the next hour, they talked more honestly than they had in years. About exhaustion, about resentment, about feeling emotionally invisible, about how grief from Ethan losing his father 3 years earlier quietly changed him. About how Sophia stopped expressing her feelings because she became tired of sounding too emotional. Piece by piece, the truth surfaced between them. Not ugly truth, human truth, the kind couples often bury beneath routines and responsibilities. At some point, the fire began dying. Neither of them noticed. Sophia sat curled beneath a blanket while Ethan spoke quietly about the pressure he constantly felt to appear strong. I didn't know how to tell you I was struggling, he admitted. Sophia stared at him carefully. You used to tell me everything, I know. What changed? Ethan hesitated. Then finally, I think I stopped believing vulnerability was attractive. Sophia's heart ached hearing that, because she realized she had done the same thing. Both of them had spent years performing strength for each other instead of offering honesty. And slowly, performance replaced connection. Outside, the storm finally began calming. The cabin windows fogged softly from the warmth inside. Sophia looked toward Ethan for a long moment, then quietly asked the question she feared most. Do you still love me? Ethan didn't answer immediately, and in that small pause, her heart nearly collapsed. But then, yes, he said softly, I just don't know if we've been loving each other correctly anymore. Sophia finally cried then, not loudly, not dramatically, just silent tears falling beside a dying fire while the man she married stared at her with the same sadness reflected in his own eyes. And for the first time in years, neither of them looked away, because sometimes relationships do not survive through passion alone. Sometimes they survive because two exhausted people finally stop pretending everything is okay. And sometimes healing does not begin with romance. Sometimes it begins with two people sitting quietly in the middle of a storm, finally telling each other the truth.